I'm just going to start by asking you to introduce yourself and then tell me what you do, where you do it, and how long you've been in Extension for.
My name is Dave Apsley. I'm a natural resource specialist for Ohio State University Extension, and I mainly do woodland owner outreach, and I do a lot of collaborative efforts with partners. I've been in Extension since 2000, so about 18 years.
Oh, great. Was there any advice that someone gave you when you were starting out in Extension that's kind of stuck with you, or any advice that kind of started to form for yourself that no one gave you but started to form after a few years?
Probably, especially in the last half of my career, the best advice is we're in a state with only 2 extension foresters to reach 300 and some thousand woodland owners. So to be successful, collaboration, finding out who's doing what in your state, getting to know the partners and the partnering agencies and so on, and working with them can really increase your capacity. It also makes your job a lot more fun. So.
And are you the only, so there's only 2 of you who actually do forestry and extension across the way, or is it that
We have
or you
2
have agents that do something too?
2 extension foresters. One is based on campus. She tends to work more in the northern part of the state. I'm down in the Appalachian Hill Country.
Okay.
We have no A&R educators in the counties that have a forestry background or a forestry degree. So we're kind of out on that island. So we really need help from partners and collaborators to accomplish a whole lot. So.
And how do you work with, do you work much with agents, or how do you work with agents?
We work with agents as much as we can. We try to encourage them to come to our program to learn about it and participate. If I can, I'm involved with things like their small farm outreach efforts, because a lot of our farms have woodlands. And then we just help them with their natural resources and forestry questions that come in, and try to make ourselves available so that it's a topic most of them aren't very familiar with. So it's just another place. Today I got an email from an agent asking about how to take care of a buckeye tree, and even though that's not forest management as such, we try to pitch in and help however we can.
How would you recommend like a new extension specialist who might be based on campus technically kind of integrate with agents and meet agents and everything, or work with them?
I think you got to get out. You can't sit in the office. You got to interact with them. You got to spend time out there. You got to really understand, because especially Ohio's so diverse in the landscape, and we've got several metropolitan areas, but we've also got Appalachia. And so you can't really assume anything. You've got to spend time there and understand the people and their clients to really be able to have an impact. It's kind of hard to force feed from top down to get things there. If they see the need and it's more bottom up, it's usually more effective.
What can you tell me about your woodland owners, or about like your audiences for your programs? Like, there's some different groups, or are there different ways to reach the different groups?
We've got a pretty varied audience. We're in Appalachian, Ohio, but what I've found the best way to reach, and our classic message is usually sustainable forest management, but their interests are so varied. So we try to vary our topics. We try to offer things that they're interested in, and then we try to supplement and add to that message. A good example, last year, our best program that we had attendance-wise was on breeding songbirds. We had a lot of woodland owners there. They're interested in learning about songbirds, but we placed some of our stops in the field in different silvicultural treatments. And then the relationship between the birds they're seeing, the type of habitat they're in, then you can get into that forest management message. And they're much more open to it when they're successfully interacting and seeing birds. And we actually had a mist net, so they actually got to see yellow-breasted chat, and we talked about the habitat and brought in the professionals that know much more about songbirds than I do. That's the other thing. You can't know everything about all these topic areas, so if you've got these professionals that know more, utilize them. Most of them love to talk about it.
What are your different kinds of woodland owners, just out of curiosity? We're trying to reach like forestry, natural resources agents. That's who it's designed for, and I realize I haven't asked people to kind of define their audiences or what type of woodland.
We're interested in reaching any type of woodland owner that's out there, and I'm a firm believer in the Telly principles, the folks over at Yale. So there are definitely groups of landowners and their interest levels. Some are real active, some are more into the nature scene, some own their woodlands for the income opportunities. on average, they're a relatively older audience. But we've got a very varied audience, and we try to reach as many as we can. So we offer a variety of programs to at least get the connections. Once we get the connections, then we can offer more and take them a little further.
Let's see. I may not ask all these questions, but when did you feel like you had a handle on the job?
Never. Never. I'm pretty fortunate in that I came to Extension mid-career. So I had opportunities to do research on campus, actually managed the forest at Fort Knox in Kentucky for Department of Army, and then I taught for a few years at a technical college. So I had those experiences and I could kind of look back and lean on those a little bit. But probably the most fortunate thing is my last job prior to Extension was in the region, so I had a lot of the connections. And as a new, I often think as a new educator jumping into a whole new ocean and not having the connections, how hard it would be. So I think that's probably a big advantage I had. And if I had some advice for somebody coming in is spend the time to make the connections, spend the time to learn about the people and the environment before you just jump in and, try to force your message upon those folks. Try to find messages that make sense and what they're interested in.
Let's see. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Can't think of anything other than ANREP is awesome, and I've been to every ANREP conference since Naples, the first one that was offered after I was hired, and I get more ideas just like the session I just came from, and you get invigorated and you learn and you come up with new techniques to be effective and to reach the landowners, and that's kind of what makes the job fun and makes you feel rewarded by having an impact. So,
Great.
anything else?